Press record, Kane. She's danced for everyone and their cat, and then she's gone into choreography, and now she's going into acting. Jonathan has been dancing on TV since he was like, I don't know. Two. He's been roasting us all since he was 14.
Yeah, no,
literally.
That's actually a fact, though.
No,
that's not a joke. That's a fact.
Yeah. In every class, like 14, like killing all the people in their 20s and 30s.
Very kind. Thank you.
It's true. It's so true.
It's proper humble pie. And then like he's just done. Now you've like dived into more the musical theatre world. So if that's a world you're looking to get into, definitely someone to ask. And Belle also has danced for everyone and their cat and their hamster. And now, not the hamsters. And now she's an agent. So you have very different people that you can pick, information from. So we'd love to open the floor if anyone wants to shoot a first question and people will answer it. It's always the first one, which is a bit slow, but normally Connor saves us.
Oh, really?
Chatty Cathy over there.
So go, ask away. This is your time. Hit me. So the question you're asking is, you're struggling to get an opportunity or break into the industry even though you already have agents. And you're trying to figure out why.
So, with what you're trying to go in for, are you looking at what that job is and seeing who's doing it? And do you feel like, well, I should be seen for that? You can say yes, obviously. If you're like, yeah, I think I should be in the room for that, I could do that. Yeah.
Like when I watch like a show or something, like I feel like I could do that.
But you're not, then no one's getting you in that.
Yeah.
Is it stuff where you have to sing and dance? Or is it just dancing that you're talking about? Because sometimes, if you're talking about, there's sometimes not a lot of clarity. If you're looking at going for a ship that is asking for singing and dancing, or a show where you need to sing and dance, sometimes you're like, yeah, I hear this a lot. Yeah, I sing a bit. And it's like, okay, you don't need to be a lead singer, but you need to have a couple of songs to be an ensemble. And if your agents that you have, if it's this type of job you're talking about, if you don't have that bit of singing that looks really good, then they can't get you in the room. If you're talking about just dance work, like artists and those sort of things, then that takes a bit longer, doesn't it? It's a different. This is why I asked you what jobs are you talking about, and you're like, oh, I want to go for this.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, the only jobs I've auditioned for are from the main, ones that are open audition in the commercial industry. I don't really get any commercial auditions, but for NT, I feel like I get to the final and then I'm not the right one.
That's fine then. If you're getting to a final, keep
Good thing.
doing it, because you will be right.
It will happen eventually.
It's a jigsaw puzzle. They're literally looking at so many different people. If you're getting to a final, you could do the job.
Yeah.
Fact. So if it is your look, you are who you are. You're absolutely bloody gorgeous. So you just need to be like, yeah, that's what I am. Want me or don't. The amount of times I was too short, not pretty enough, my boobs weren't big enough. Genuinely, these are genuine things that have been told to me. You're not sexy enough. You're this, you're that, you're the other. And I just kept going and kept doing the thing until someone was like, do you know what? I want that little redhead Essex girl. She's my thing. I used to have red hair. And I just kept going. Every time they told me I was too short and not sexy enough, I was like, I'm going to be the best dancer in the room then. That's the only way it's going to have to be. So that's all you need to do. Just keep going.
Keep going.
What would you recommend, getting into the commercial industry?
Go for it, please.
Lisa.
I feel like you'll have the best advice.
Oh God, sorry. I thought I was falling on me. I mean, I feel like we've had a little chat about this. And I do feel like, similar to what Belle said, it is a bit of a jigsaw. But I do feel like there's a lot of things that people aren't doing, that they should be doing, that can help them. I.e., look at the jobs that you want to do. I know you want to do everything. And actually, I was just talking to Brogan, wherever you are, and I was saying it's good that you want to do everything, but sometimes you just need an in, right? Because essentially one job will lead to the next job, because work breeds more work. Mm-hmm. There's no way someone will go, oh, I've seen her on this job, and they won't want to try you out for something. So i.e. the things that I would do if I was in this generation, because back in our day there was loads of auditions all the time.
Yeah.
There isn't, which is really rubbish. But what I would do is, for example, if I wanted to work for Ashley Wallen and I wanted to do film for him, or I wanted to do anything for him, I would go, okay, he doesn't teach a class, but who is he close to? Who is in his inner circle? Do any of them teach? Because those are the people that have his ear, right? He doesn't have time to figure out who the new dancers are and who's great, but he will go, oh, who's good that's around now? And all the people can say is, oh, this person who went to my class. It's the same when I was teaching a lot. Sharon would go, Lisa, I need someone for this job. And I could only recommend her the people that I'm seeing. So I get a lot of the time people going, oh, I'm going to this class and that class. Is that person working? Maybe they're not. Are they connected? If they're not connected, it doesn't matter if you're in their class killing it, if they can't help you, if what your goal is to work, right? If that person can't recommend you to someone who you want to work for, then you're barking up the wrong tree. So you have to be smart with it. You have to be a little bit more logistical. Like I even spoke the other week about Jared's class, and a lot of people were like, who's Jared Hageman?
What's to know if you don't know?
Well, it's just more like, do your research. Like, and I speak about him because I feel like he does, obviously he's got his regular class now, but it's more the fact that he is a choreographer on Mass Movement's books. So what I would do is I would look on all the agencies' books, who are the choreographers? Do any of them teach? I'm going to start going to their class whether I like their choreography or not, because they're going to mention my name in rooms with important people who can then give me work. So that's like one thing. Also, being in a class and making sure you're dancing next to the people who are working, i.e., Jerry said this at my intensive last. He said, oh, well, I follow Lisa, and if you're in her classes and there's a video pops up and you're dancing next to Joy Duckall and Anders, not that Anders would be in my class, although I think he would actually come.
He would.
Yeah, he would. But then he'll be like, ooh, I can see that new person with the people that are already working. It's just like free advertising for you. It puts you on that platform with people who are already on that level. So that is also one thing, rather than staying with your mate because you feel comfortable with your mate and your mate's also not working.
Or going to a class that you might get a good video of yourself, but if that good video of yourself isn't something that someone's looking at, do you know?
If it's never going to be seen by anyone you want it to be seen by.
That sounds mean, we don't mean it like that, but it kind of, it makes sense to do the thing that is smart, which is what you've just said. It's not, don't just go to a class that's really, really easy, you look amazing doing it, and it's on your Instagram, but no one's looking at your Instagram. Does that make sense?
It's just being a bit more strategic.
That's the word.
That's like one thing. I mean, I feel like I could keep talking, but
do it.
should I?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Also, certain things on your Instagram. So this is something that I'm sure, Belle, you look for. This is something that I look for, that I feel like every choreographer or agency does. On your Instagram, if you've just got a bunch of pictures of you drinking tequila with your mates, no, take it down. Also, if you've got loads of videos on your Instagram just in Alex Chambers' class, love Alex. But also, I don't want to see you do the same combo over and over and over again. Why? I need to be able to see that you can do jazz, you can do a bit of hip hop, you can do a bit of Latin, you can do MT. And then actually when I'm deciding and I'm like looking over briefs, and again, Belle, take over whenever you want because you do this more than me, but you can actually go, oh, well, could I put them on The Voice? Oh, but I don't know if they can do that double turn.
Yeah, because I'm scrolling on your Instagram, and then I can't find it.
Yeah, you're not.
And do you know what I feel like? It's like so contradictory. I never had to do that, and if I had done, I think I'd have been shit at it. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's hard for you, and I know that, so that's a fact. So let's just, I know that it's hard. I would hate to have to make my Instagram my life, and it's not. But you need to. Okay, that is really unfortunate, so I'm here for it. So when people say to me, oh, but I don't want it to look like I don't care. Your muggle friends, I call them muggles, people that don't do what we do. So your mate that's at uni doing law is going to say to you, oh my God, your Instagram's well showy offy, like, oh my God, it's just all you. And you need to go, yeah, it's my job. Your job is doing what you do. This is my job. Your Instagram has to look like that, I'm afraid. If you're that character, which I am, where it feels cringe to do that thing, it doesn't matter, this is your job. Because I, in one breath, say to people, oh God, it's so cringe, it must be horrible to do that. But in the other breath, if Lisa says to me, so at some point, do you have this person who looks this age, it's this? I'm like, oh yeah, this person. Oh, I can't send anyone that Instagram because there's nothing on it, do you know? So that Instagram life is really important, and you need those good shots in that first sort of 6 It needs to be at the top there. You can pin things now, can't you? I've just recently realised. Just literally, as in like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So you can put... That's how old I am. But you can put your pictures, you can put your stuff, you can put your reel, you need to have that at the top. So I'm not going, hang on a minute, there must be one here where they look this way or where they're doing that thing. What you just said is so important. If you can go to different classes and show those different sides of you, that is amazing. Because if it's all there in that beginning of your Instagram, it makes life so much easier. And it is Instagram that someone's sharing quickly, that profile. I'm literally copying and posting profiles all the time and sending it to somebody. So that's really important.
And literally to tag off of that, so last week I had some of the management from Sony message me. I did a couple of music videos for them last month. They wanted some dancers and I was like, oh, this person and this person. They went, send me their Instagrams. And then when I looked at their Instagrams, I was like, oh, fuck, if I send that, they're not gonna want them. Yeah. So then I couldn't send the people I actually wanted to the label because I knew that they would say no. So I was like, oh, actually the person who's really good, who deserves the job probably won't get it because their Instagram wasn't right.
It's really hard. And getting your Instagram right also is, I've heard some agents sit there and be like, and actually you touched on it just then, oh, I don't want, this, a particular agent I know said, I do not want to see any pictures of you holding a Prosecco, I don't care, I'm not interested. And I get that, that's their preference. For me, actually, I don't mind if there is your real life. Like, I want to, for me personally, this is, again, you have to know everything every human says to you is an opinion at this point. It's not...
No one's right.
No one's right. It's so important that you know that as students. I don't know how many of you, how young you are, but I feel like, especially when you're at college, you're taught this, and you think that that is the only way, and you have to just take everything as an opinion.
But I think being human is a thing.
Being human, for me, I don't mind seeing you with your Prosecco. I'm like, oh, cool, nice. But then I also want to make sure that very quickly within that brief, like, I'm happy to see a picture of your dog. In fact, I'm so here for seeing a picture of your dog. But I just need to also see the other. But that's my opinion. There is another agent out there that would be like, I do not want to see your dog. I don't want to see you drinking a thing. I only want to see work. So you decide who you are and how you want to represent yourself. Me, I played around with my Instagram looking a certain way. Now I just don't care. I'm like, whatever. But at one point when I was thinking it is important, I was still working and dancing. I was like, oh, do I put a picture of my French Bulldog up? Should I? And I was like, yeah, fuck it, I will, because I love my French Bulldog. But I will make sure there's a video of me looking sick as well. And that might have been a good thing or bad thing.
The pinning tool is the best thing ever.
Yeah,
that essentially is the first
stuff.
thing we see, right?
Yeah.
So if your show reel is the first thing, and then your two cute combos of you doing whatever with whoever is the next two things, then below it, live your best life. Like, you've got to be a human, you've got to be satisfied with, as long as you're happy with it, like, to me, like, you can play the game and it could still not work. You could make this Instagram, which someone's told you to do these specific colors, or like you have to do like a specific photo. And you know what? You put all that time and effort in, and that might not be that thing that gets it. Because you might have Belle that looks and might go, or me, I'm not hiring you, but I might be like, they look boring.
Okay.
Like,
No, you wouldn't.
but like, I think you've got to be content with what you're doing.
I think it's just more that it's a tool to help you.
It is a tool to help you, yeah.
So if you want something that's going to add on top of you and your talent, that is a tool that people use constantly. Mm-hmm. And so you need to make sure that you're happy with it.
Yeah. Because it's your journey. All of our opinions doesn't really matter because it's your journey.
Someone have their hand up over here. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think it might be better sometimes to have a separate Instagram, like a professional one?
This is a bit dangerous because sometimes I find that I'm looking at the wrong Instagram. So say, you know, I'm Christabelle and I might put in Christabelle and it should be Christabelle Dancer, but the first thing I've seen is Christabelle. So I look at that and then it may not be the right one and then someone's like, oh, it's the other Instagram that's got... So again, I don't know what you think about that, Lisa.
No, I kind of agree.
It's really difficult. It depends. Maybe if your personal one is not your name, right? If your personal one is something that only your personal friends are going to get, but if it is down as your name and I'm writing your name in, then I'm going to see whatever comes up first.
There's also, I think, the one, so I literally just had a friend do this, but she kept the one with the most followers as her kind of work account, because then that came up first. And then she created a new one for her life. So that could be a way to do it. Keep the one with the most followers, it's most likely going to come up first.
It's just a lot of upkeep, isn't it, having 2 Instagrams?
Yeah.
If you've got the time, babe.
Yeah.
Razum Taz.
If you go to an audition and it's kind of like a specific style that you go
I'm not going to say anything yet because I think you probably heard my answer.
That's more you.
Is it
again.
me?
Yeah, that's more
I
you
feel
too.
like you
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah.
I feel like,
No, don't. I'm only going to speak when it's like. But I
but
think
babe,
it's,
you're going on like you're not a commercial dancer. You can do
but
everything.
it's,
What would you? I mean, you can't ask Jonathan that because he can do every
Because he
single
could do
style.
everything.
So it doesn't really matter.
So actually, Jonathan, what would you do in that situation?
What would I do? Oh God. What I thought when you said that's an interesting question. I would probably kind of ooze into what would be comfortable for me, if that makes sense. So like maybe the first 4 counts might sort of be something in that style, and then like let's say if you have like a couple 8s, you know what I mean, to do whatever, then like the next 4, then you get into your own thing, and then gradually then you give them all the tricks and everything, and but then a lot of the times they do want to see that. That's why they give you that space to kind of to do whatever, you know what I mean. The other thing is sometimes like I think from what because I haven't been in like commercial audition for a while, but I do remember seeing sometimes it just got crazy, like where it's like 2 8s freestyle, and all of a sudden it's like gymnastics, like like they just like flip Tarzan's flinging himself over there, and this one's rolling, and you're like oh my God, like and so it is. The other thing is like, if I would say that and this more goes for like theater stuff and even film stuff, you make sure whatever you pull out that you are going to do that and be comfortable with doing that again
On the
and
job.
again and again and again.
If you do a flip in the audition, you're going to do it on the job.
Babe,
Yeah, you will.
this is it. When and sometimes they'll go, okay, great, oh my God, they can do that 8 times a week. 1 day off, 8 times a week, 1 day off. By the time you get to the 7th show, you're like, oh my God, why did I do the aerial? Like, so I've been in auditions, like, as I've started, like, later on, and when they ask for tricks, some of the trickers are like, I'm not going.
Yeah.
because they know that how the demand for that is, yeah, and like, if you fall, that's you. And the thing is, of course, you learn the tricks and everything to be able to do them. But sometimes it's like, aerial could be really wonderful instead of like a triple aerial to a split. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I would kind of say. Whatever you want to show off, I would say show off.
I think
yeah.
the styles of dance, it's really difficult because I've been in a position where I've been in an audition and it's quite sort of clean and soft and maybe sexy, like I'm feeling like Ashley stuff, the Kylie once. Did not get this job. Lisa did. I did not. And I remember doing the choreo and being like, this is not really very me, I'm not very good at being in this vibe. And I did it and I was like, okay. And then in the freestyle, he'd made it kind of, he was like, show me what you've got, but also, I think he even said something like within the style of, or something like that. And I just remember thinking, by this point I had worked for him before and I knew him, and I was just like, I'm shit at this, I need to do me. So I went in and did all my stuff, and he was like, yeah, thank you, cool, not for me. But then there's been other auditions where I go in and I'll do my little bit of on the floor, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this, and it's worked because I'm showing those areas. It's worked as many times as it hasn't worked for me. Because sometimes I'm like, I've showed you this in the choreo, I've showed you that I can do that, I need to put every other fucking thing but the kitchen sink in just to be like, watch me, watch me, watch me, watch me, watch me. And then if I walk out and I know they've watched me, that was my thing. I used to feel like if I know that they looked at me, I know they saw me, I'm like, well, if I get cut, I can't bitch outside the room going, they didn't even look at me. I hate dancers that do that.
You used to say that to me all the time.
I detest it. I cannot stand someone who's like, they didn't even look at me. Why, bitch? Because they looked at me and cut me immediately, but they saw me.
No, I remember that.
Or they saw me and they
when we
kept
did
me.
Thriller, you were like, I made sure they watched me. And I was like, that's right. Because she was like, because how tall are you? You're like,
Exactly.
You're like, I'm so small. And like, even like stood next to me, you're like, so you have to dance bigger.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
I've
And you were
always
like,
used to
everyone
say,
watching me.
I'm a 5'4" dancer who's not a model. Like, I know what I look like, I knew what I was, and I was like, I need to be the best dancer with him. I need to show off every single angle I've got. Some people were here for it, and some people weren't, and I knew that. And sometimes I even, like in that particular moment for Kylie, I knew that Ashley was going to be like, bitch, sit down. But I just thought, but there's other people in the room, there was like other people that I hadn't met, like directors or whatever, and I just thought, oh, you never know. Because I was in a room for JLS once when they'd said a certain thing, and it wasn't, in the end, I didn't get that particular job that time, but I got the job through better something else because I'd done all that stuff. So you never, it's your initiative, right? You're
Yeah.
I mean, you must feel the same as
The
well,
biggest
right?
thing I think I notice mistakes people make in auditions is they don't actually listen to what's being asked. They're just so worried about getting the steps right, which I've seen people not get the steps right and still book the job.
So many times.
Like so many times. Like if you actually listen and hang on to every word that the person who's giving you instruction, what they do, they're telling you what to do the entire time. Like they might say freestyle in the style of, and then I see someone go in and start crumping and you're like,
They just
bro,
say don't do
this
that,
is not the right time. He basically blatantly told you what to do. Like they will give you instructions. But I also think your freestyle is the time for you to show off your superpowers. That's where you get to be like, look, I'm not just a civilian. Look what I can do. Like,
You make that choice, you're brave or you're not. You might go against what they've just said, but
and
should you?
like,
I don't know.
I've always felt like auditions is my strength. I'm really good at auditions because I don't feel the pressure, I don't crack, but I do my research before I go. So I always know who I'm auditioning for. I always know what I'm auditioning for. I always know the kind of dancers they hire. I always know their background and their training. I always know if they're going to understand what I do. And if you go in with as much information preparing you for it, then you should feel comfortable and confident to get through it. Like I always say it, like for Footloose, for when we did it on Strictly, there was loads of us auditioning. I knew which track I was going to book. I knew I was booking it because I'd watched it 17 times the night before. And I was like, I'm going to be that guy. I was that guy. Jason Derulo. I stayed up and I watched the last performance. There was one white guy, Ivan Kamweov. I was like, I am going to be the Ivan Kamweov. I went and I wore the exact outfit that he wore on stage. I knew what kind of dancers they liked. Like, I walked in and I was like, everyone else is in their favorite outfit. I was in costume.
Yeah, ready,
Like, granted,
ready for the job.
if you're going for like Teletubbies, you're not going to rock in like a Teletubby.
Yeah.
But like, there's like, if you're going for Kylie, like, look what the Kylie dancers wear. Like, make your version of that.
Yeah.
Go in showing them that they can already place you on set. They haven't got to be like, but will they look right? What would they be like?
Yeah.
Like, you can answer so many questions that they're going to ask on your own.
I feel like what you asked, Taz, is a hard one, and it's
I have one other
yeah,
answer to
it's
it.
on you.
It is on you, and I also feel like just like listen to the music, because I feel like if you did, let's say it was like a commercial combo, like commercial whatever, and then you were like a breaker, if like within that sort of breaking or whatever your style was, like whacking or something, if you did it but it matched the music, then there's a payoff for it. Does that make sense? So like even if you did like a trick and then you went, wow, and you hit like the snare in the music or something that catches you back, then it's like, oh, they're in control. Like so I think maybe that's like another way. Because I feel sometimes when it comes to freestyle, it's just a free-for-all. Like there's no, so then the musicality goes off.
That's a really
Yeah.
good bit of advice.
Yeah.
If your musicality and dynamics match that music and you're becoming that in whatever style you're doing,
Then it's
that's
attractive.
Really smart.
Yeah.
Write that down, everyone.
That's a
No, it's
I've
true.
never known how to. That's it.
Because like the choreographer is trying to create like the visual representation of the sound, right? So they're seeing if you can bring that vision to life. So then when they go freestyle, you need to maintain that because they've just spent like 5 hours choreographing it and an hour teaching you it, and you've just showed them that you can do it, and then as soon as it comes to your choice, you're like, fuck it, don't need it anymore. Like if you can hold that to that standard, then they're going to be like...
That is it. I think that is all them different things I might have been throwing myself around. I think it was, if it was still, I was always singing the song while I was doing a bit of Latin and a bit of this and a bit of that.
I think if you marry whatever you're doing to
That's the way to explain
the music, I think then you're in a good place. Whether they take it or not,
Yeah.
then that's up to them. Does that make sense? But you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I dance great in class, but I really struggle to like keep my cool in an audition, so like not crack.
So how to not crack in an audition. Auditioning is a skill set. You only get good at them by doing them. Like you only get used to that pressure by doing them. Like Lisa said, the hard thing is they don't really happen very much anymore.
But you could take class like an audition, and so many teachers do say,
Yeah.
don't take this like an audition, please don't, have a nice time, enjoy yourself. And I always say when I'm teaching, I'm like, do what suits you, because yes, take the class because you're enjoying it, but I used to go to some classes in the week being like, I'm going to take this like an audition, and even though they're saying don't, just have fun, I'm like, this is not fun. This is not fucking fun.
This is
I
my
need
life.
to be this is my everything.
Yeah.
So I think there's that. I think the way, because there aren't auditions so much, you go to a class and you tell yourself that day that is what you're doing. And even if the teacher's saying, please, like, you know, because obviously they want you to have a nice time, they want you to learn. And each class you go to, you have to know what you're going to get out. You have to sort of go in going, this is what I want to get out of today. Sometimes it is, I need a bit of confidence. I'm going to go to that class and know I'm going to kill it. I'm going to have a nice day. And the next time it's like, I know I'm going to be shit in this class, but I need this to get better. So I would, maybe it's that practice.
I feel like, I don't know if it's the same anymore, but like when we used to, like, every year, like, X Factor auditions would come and you'd know it would come.
Time of the year.
You would know it would come because
Oh my
like
God.
Sean Niles's and Cisco's class would be packed to the gills for like 2 months before it, because those were like the audition classes. Those were the ones where the teachers were always like, book class, get it together, we're not saving you, figure it out. And then people would start turning on that training mode. I don't know if that's still really a thing, but like you have to kind of set your own intention for your class or from the jump,
Yes,
like Belle
write
said.
that down too. Set your own intention for the class.
But also, I think, where is it that you're flaming? Is it because you're struggling with the counts in terms of like the pickup, or is it more of a mental thing, as an out of interest?
I do audition and I'm like watch myself and I'm like smashing it, and then you go in groups and I'm like,
That's what's mental.
That's a mental thing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
practice putting yourself in a vulnerable position and having to dance.
And I think doing that by approaching class in that kind of way will be really helpful. Like, don't go in like, hey, with your mates, like, oh, I kind of lost that count, but whatever. Like, approach it really like head on. Like, okay, I'm taking in every single thing. Like, even like how we just did today. Like, are you stood in the right space? I mean, when you're in class, you always stood in the right space. There's only one space. But am I really like listening to what the choreographer says? Is it the first time the music comes on that I'm on it straight away, rather than being a bit more relaxed with yourself? I feel like class for me, I mean, not that I've taught in ages, but like when I would, everyone is like really relaxed, which is like nice,
I don't
but like
understand it.
also you can't push yourself to your limits if you're like really chilled about everything all the time, because when you're not in a chill position, you're literally going to be like, ah, because you're not used to it, because you're not used to necessarily putting that much pressure on yourself, or as much pressure on yourself, because I'm sure you do put pressure on yourselves. But also I feel like I'm going to tag on, keep going with you, just because obviously you just did Camera Ready for me, didn't you? And actually for me, I'm going to tie into what I said to you in your feedback, that actually you were quite relaxed all the way through the first day, and then suddenly I saw a whole different person on the second day. And it's not because you weren't picking up the choreography, and you never really went wrong, but I do feel like you could put some more pressure on yourself, because I feel like you're kind of skirting, this is just personal for you, but like you have the potential to be much better than you are, and you kind of sit back on your talent a bit rather than let you like take off. So I think you need to approach training in a lot more stricter way, personally, from seeing you, myself.
Gold gem of nugget for you from Lisa right there.
When can I say one thing? Yeah. No, I'm gonna come back. No, I teach these guys. They know. When you're taking class, right? Just to add on to what they're saying, ways to sort of like build that. I think basically like the dependency. So like, when you're at the side, face away. Like, so when they split the groups, face that way, or face the back, or close your eyes, and do the whole thing. So you basically X off any information around you to see what it is that you know. Does that make sense? Try doing that all the time. So like as soon as they split groups or whatever, and you're at the side, face it back. And then you'll see, like, and let the others face that way, because you're basically trying to X off everybody around you. So try that. The other thing is, when you're about to go into, let's say you're going onto the floor, so they say, okay, call it out in fives or whatever. Just, I've been trying this as well. You inhale for like a certain amount of time, hold for a bit, and then exhale for extra longer period. So if it's like in for 4, then hold for 4, then out for 8. And basically, and just try and like repeat. Nobody needs to know that you're doing it. You're like walking over, as opposed to like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Just like,
Calm yourself.
yeah. So that it's like, it just centers, you know. Try, probably, like, in addition to everything that they're saying, try and put those things in and like do them in class.
Do you,
you know?
before you dance, do you have doubt? Like, do you go, oh my God, I don't want to go wrong? That's you telling yourself. That's you accepting it.
Yeah.
I promise you, this makes me sound so wanky. But every time I'm in an audition, as I'm about to dance, I tell myself I'm booking this job.
Me too.
I tell myself I'm the best.
No, yeah.
And Lisa's next to me and I'm like, you're
And I even look at the people next to me. I look at the people next to me and I go,
Keep up.
I'm about to fucking roast you.
But I
Like,
think we were
and
all
there's
like
no-
that.
there is
though.
no
We were all friends
doubt.
and we were all like that.
There is no doubt in my mind. Like, I never be like, oh my God, someone's next to me. I'm like that. Oh, normally you kill me, but watch this.
I have
like,
a battle. I have like on one
Yeah.
shoulder, babe, she is, shush, fuck off. You know when RuPaul talks about the saboteur? Have you ever seen?
Yeah.
You need to,
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
RuPaul
I feel
from
like I
the
have that
only
where
one.
it's like, I'm telling myself I'm the best and that I can do this and I'm way better. Then there's that little voice and you just have to stamp that shit out.
Yeah.
Because don't let that logic come into it at that point. Don't let that. It's not
As
like,
soon as there's doubt, I feel like you've given in to that. Like, there's a
Already.
possibility. Like, even if it's my best friend next to me, I'm like, I love you, but I'm paying my rent this month. Like,
and I'll buy you a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? But yeah, the mental thing is definitely a massive thing.
Sorry.
What would you say bridges the gap between a really good dancer and a professional, and like how to get there?
Someone who listens is like a massive thing. I just jumped straight into that because that's like I feel like even just today, you know, like you just want someone who will do what you say first time, who will stand in the gaps without me having to say once, twice, 3 times. Someone who adds character straight away, not halfway through the routine. Someone who tries different things and you can see them already figuring out the reverse, like someone who's actually ahead of the choreographer's brain, who goes like, oh, we're going on set, and you're looking and you're like, oh, my side's definitely going to change. I'm figuring it out already. So then by the time the choreographer's told me to do it, it's like it's already in there. I've already like reversed a whole section before someone's told me to. So it's really just like being smart. I feel like rap dancers have this rap of like, especially like an old school mindset of like dancers are dumb.
No, we're the
Dancers and like really high level working dancers are they're so smart. You have to be so on it, because essentially, like if you're getting into the industry, you're wanting to get into the industry, it's not a case of like, oh, you're one new person competing. You're actually competing with all the people that are already working, who are already have the choreographer's trust. And that is not just through danceability, it's by being like smart, by being on it, by being on time, by not being rude. Like there's just so many things. But I think someone who's smart and creative is like a massive thing, because it means you can just trust them.
Yeah, because you'll get like into the atmosphere or wherever, like the environment that you're working on, and like the floor is a sabotage, it's slippery, or the stage is like round instead of what you've rehearsed on, or there's bumps in the floor, and like the
Or your
choreographer,
shoes aren't right, or there's
yeah,
goes on and on, doesn't it?
and like it's up to you at that point to like figure out, okay, like how do I, you know, not affect, let's say the choreographer, let's say Lisa's doing it, don't interrupt her flow. She's dealing with like, I don't know, Brian or whoever else is like on top of her, you know, and you just have to be able to like, so sometimes this like comes up with questions. Sometimes people ask a lot of questions. Asking questions is great, like it's like in class and stuff, but then sometimes when you're like on the gig, keep them to yourself and just try, because like if you're like, what count is that on? What leg is this on? And like at that point, like the choreographer's just like,
I showed you what leg it was on. I showed you what count it was on.
So on the leg, I did it on, babes.
yeah, they've deleted it. Do you know what I mean? Like they've deleted, because all they're thinking of is,
The
okay,
next
I
bit.
want the picture to go boom. And then, and this point, that person over there is like, what angle is my arm? The angle that it's supposed to be on. That is where it's, and because I'm looking at this. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. So like, this is very much what this is saying, yeah.
your job is to make their job as easy as possible.
I was just going to say the difference between a good dancer and a professional dancer is the professional dancer doesn't need a teacher and the good dancer does. And I see this a lot because I teach at a lot of colleges and I teach a lot and I have taught a lot. Good dancers need the information to be given. Therefore, if you're working for a choreographer who gives you all that information, great. But how often do they, and do they have time? Not really. So I want to be able to say it goes da, da, da. And you know that I had a fist, then I had 2 fists, then I had a hand, or I had a hand and then I had I don't need to say that. Good dancers need me to go, guys, it's going to go hand in a fist, step out. Then we're going to bring the right foot in and put our Professional dancers need boom, 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 and you know what it is. And that's all I need to give you. Because choreographers, even if they are really good teachers, do not have time, right?
Yeah.
So like, Lisa is a really good teacher, but I presume when you're choreographing and you're doing it with those girls that know what they're doing, they already know. You just have to show them. You probably, for me, I find I barely even have to dance when I'm choreographing my dancers that are really good for me. Barely have to do anything because they just get it. So that, I think, is the difference between a good dancer and a professional, is that bridging that gap between needing to be given all the info rather than just picking it up from what they've said, what they've done, what they look like, etc.
Dope. We good? One last one. Let's go.
When you said about how you mentioned with like training with different people, but then at the same time, like if you want a certain job spec, you need to train with those certain people. How would you say, like, would you train with them the most, or would you still have that versatility of like different teachers, but then like trying again? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
I
what
think
do you need though? It's what do you need? If you feel, I was thinking that this, when you was talking, I was like, I thought this might come up. Because you have to be smart. There was a time when I only took locking class, house class, and like a jazz class, because I couldn't afford to take also the class that I was going to be seen in. But I was thinking, even if I do take the class I'm going to be seen in, I'm not going to be as good as that person. So I used to like give myself a timetable. Week 1, I would do foundation. Week 2, I would do need to be seen by this person, need to be seen by that person. And then I'd go back again. And then if there was, do you see what, that's what, I literally, as soon as I graduated college, I looked at, it was Pineapple, that was the only place to go, right?
Yeah.
There was nowhere else. 68 wasn't even open when I graduated. So I literally would get my Pineapple timetable, which was paper, because that's how it was, and I'd circle, and I literally created myself a timetable straight away. And then it would each week kind of edit. But that is what I did, because it's that. In sometimes you need to be in the class to be seen in, but that class to be seen in sometimes isn't always the class that's going to train you in the thing that you need to be trained in. So it's on you guys to know, what do I need to be where I need to be. I knew I needed to be, every single hip hop style needed to be great, because I was short and I'd already had that look and people had already decided that's what I was, but I didn't actually have that training and I wasn't very good at it. So then I was like, shit, I need to be able to actually do the thing they think I can do. So that's what I did. But so that's, I don't know, that's what I would say.
It obviously depends on what you can afford as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
so
like
hard.
class isn't cheap. We're aware of that. So if you're financially in a comfortable position, then have your feel good class once a week. Have your 2 which are going to get you an opportunity, and your 2 which are going to train you. Like when I was living in LA, I wasn't financially free to just take whatever classes I wanted. I structured my training. So like every week I would do a foundation or a freestyle class. Then I would do my class, which is going to fulfill me and make me go, oh, this is why I do this, because I love it, which was also the one which was getting into the job world that I wanted to do. So I would take like a Marty Kudelka or a Misha or Devin Perry, somewhere along those lines where I'd be in those circles. And then my other class, I'd go and do like a George Jones or a Karan or a J.R. Taylor, the thing which didn't really sit nice on my body and it felt a bit awkward, but I knew if I wanted to work for Luther or Fatima or another choreographer, I had to understand that style of movement or at least be able to do it to a certain level. So I'd always give myself try and tick each box, because if I only make it a stress fest and I only do the things that don't feel great for my body and I don't like, then I end up going, oh, don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
Because my biggest struggle with being a working dancer was keeping my love for dance. That's been the hardest part for me to manage, is actually just loving it for the reason I found it. So I would always try and find a way to come back to that.
Yeah, because to be honest, most of the time, well, let's say half of the time, you're not doing choreography that like makes you feel amazing, because maybe you're doing a brief that you don't feel not even don't feel comfortable with, that you don't vibe with as much, or I don't know. There's loads of reasons, I guess, not to like choreography. So you have to find that love sometimes outside of the working world. But just to tag on, I feel like to what all of you just said. If you want to work, right, and you want to go to these classes where you'll be seen, make sure you're ready first. So i.e. what Belle said, like what's the point actually in almost wasting your money, someone seeing you and you're not quite ready? Because actually that's much more detrimental. When I see someone struggle in my class for like 2 years, I'm like, oh. And then they start to get good, but they're still not quite there. Whereas if they came to my class after they'd been training and hustling for 2 years, then I'd be like, oh, who's that? Rather than me be like, oh, it's taken them a really long time to like get here and I still don't really they still don't really have my
training
trust.
classes are not going to be the ones that you're going to put on your Instagram.
Yeah.
And you don't need to. And I think this is the hard thing. You feel like, again, it's kind of contradictory. You feel like you need the stuff on Instagram, but I have so many people that I talk to and I try and work with and mentor that have show reels, and they're like, here's my show reel. And I'm like, it's lovely, but it isn't, it's not there, it's not going to get you in the room. And I feel really bad, but then I'm like, no, this is my job now. I feel, my teacher feels bad, but then my agent is like, my agent personality has to be like, I'm going to be honest with you, you're brilliant, you're going to get there, but this reel isn't, so let's just put that, let's not have that there yet. Go and train, take this foundation, take this, and then let's train for a bit. Because when you graduate college, some of you already have, some of you haven't, you graduate and sometimes you think, oh, I'm good, let's go. But we're not. I hadn't even stepped on hip hop when I left college. None of it. Like I'd done jazz. And that was it. Jazz. And I graduated and I was like, I need to do everything else. And I was 19 when I started to learn how to do a groove and was consistently told, no. Let's go. No. Until I could. But I feel like there's that as well. So it's you have to kind of find your own way. Yes, you want stuff on Instagram, but if you are still in a position where you're like, I don't look like Lisa Spencer and I want to do her job, then train your asses off. Don't, just work hard at that thing, then get your reel, then go to that class that you're going to be able to, then walk into Lisa's class and be like, I'm ready, right?
Whenever I'm teaching.
Whenever she's teaching, yeah.
But yeah, and I would say in terms of like foundation styles, obviously post it if you're really amazing at it. Like if you're a sick locker, obviously post a video of it. If you're an amazing voguer, obviously post a video of it. It doesn't matter that it's not like,
no, of course.
I don't know.
Commercial.
It's like you're amazing at this style. So if they need someone to come in and do a sick house freestyle within a number for Kylie Minogue, then that could be you.
That could be you, yeah.
We good? Beautiful. Thank you, guys.